Thank you, Joseph, for the background out there. Joining us now to discuss on the issue, we have in our studio Haruna Zakari, the General Manager and Technical Assistant to the Director General CEO of NIMET. Zakari, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right.
Nice to be in this program.
We also have Florence Winigeme, Director, Forecasting Response and Mitigation, FCT Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Thank you, Madam, for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, Nigerians.
All right, and we have also been joined here in the studio by Architect Kabir Ibrahim, President All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN.
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
To have you join
Thank you
us.
very much for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
And finally this morning, and by no means the least, Awal Farouk Abdul Salam, Professor of Applied Climatology and Meteorology, Kaduna State University. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Let's kickstart our conversation with the General Manager and Technical Assistant to the Director General of NIMET. That's talking about Zakari. I want you to give us just the major highlights of the predictions.
Thank you. Good morning once again. With the compliments of my DG, Professor Charles Anosike, who gave me the clearance to come for this program. Yesterday, we unveiled the seasonal climate prediction, which was done by the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Technology. And based on the highlights we've seen, basically the seasonal climate prediction is like a warning tool, early warning tool, which is part of, Nigeria is a partner to the UN, and there's an arm of the UN, which is the World Meteorological Organization, which oversees countries' meteorological developments and so on and so forth. So based on that, we have what we call the early warning systems. And these early warning systems, NIMET has been mandated by the federal government to oversee the issue of meteorology, issues these early warnings. And these early warnings span a lot of different predictions or forecasts. But the seasonal prediction is a tool that is given out as an early warning tool for planning purposes so that people can take decision across all the economic sectors of the country. And looking at it, sometimes we say weather sensitive sectors, but I don't think there's any other sector in the system that is not weather sensitive. Mm-hmm. So then we look at agriculture, we look at construction, we look at water resources, and so on and so forth. So with the highlight of this prediction, I just don't want to just give the highlights because I have to give some background. Looking at the global trend, everywhere in the world, you do these predictions, and it is a component of societal sustainability. So before we do our own forecast, we also relate with other international bodies. We do that so that we can create a kind of a global standard in our own predictions. So based on that, we bring out the SCP. If you look at the trend before, it was seasonal rainfall prediction, but a lot of developments have evolved. It has become rich. Before, it is just rainfall parameter. Then it comes to rainfall and temperature parameter. Now it becomes not just rainfall, not just the parameter, it cut across so many sectors, agriculture, health, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yes. So in 2024, this has been unveiled. We should have done it even in January. But for some reasons or the other, we do it so that when you look at the early stages of the onset is March across the country. That is from the coastal areas of the country. And it goes over up to the.
You started having it in Lagos anyway.
Yes, that
we
is
had
March.
Flood heavy down.
Yes, I will explain that maybe later in the course of the discussions.
Okay.
So up to the north, which is going to be about June. So you can see the parity because it starts from the coastal area up to the. But generally, the overview is that we're going to have normal to above normal rainfall looking at the condition. But when you look at the Nigerian map, you find that some are going to have normal, some are going to have even below normal, but the general is normal to above normal. So as we go, we can also decide to maybe dissect and see particularly which areas are going to be affected. Like on the highlights we've been given earlier, you can see how it was broken down. So we have the onset of the season, which the onset of the season, last year you see that the onset was about February. And we're coming to this season now is March. So you can see we say, okay, the onset may be delayed in some areas. And in January, you find that the onset has been delayed, looking at February and March. Then also the cessation, the end of the season, which is another highlight. The cessation is also earlier cessation. It may not be general, because there are some areas that may have an extended cessation period.
Okay.
Exactly. So, but in general, looking at the percentage, it's going to be earlier cessation. And then also the rain patterns, maybe the rainfall volume, the length of the season, it also varies. In some areas it could be a little bit extended, but majority is going to be a little bit contracted. So those are critical issues that we will have to look at to enable decision making. That's why you have stakeholders. We do what we call the stakeholders forum, even before it is unveiled.
Okay.
This is to bring the stakeholders together of the respective economic sectors. We sit down together with them and present the draft seasonal climate prediction. We discuss it and come out with the socio-economic implications across all those sectors, whether it is agriculture, whether it is construction, whether it is aviation. We sit down to bring out the implications. What is the implication of the early onset, if it is early onset?
Okay, I mean, those are some of the issues that we're going to discuss,
Fine.
the implications of this on social and economic life of the country. Okay, Victor.
I'm going to stay with him. I want to know if there is a difference, how this year's outlook compares with, say, last year, for instance, if there is a difference, and if that difference has anything to do with the current heat wave that we are. Is it early than normal? Is it earlier than normal? Is it later than normal? Does it have anything to do with the heat wave across the country at the moment?
When you come to prediction, especially in times of climate change, you get unexpected kind of outburst. But looking at what we have last year to what we have this year is going to be a little bit harder. Because why I said so, you find that last year there are some drivers to our own season over here, like the Pacific Ocean. There are activities in the ocean that enhance our season over here. So like last year, based on what we have forecasted or predicted, it was a normal, the phase of the prediction. Maybe Prof should understand what I'm talking about. Probably the phase was a La Nina phase. But this phase we did, the La Nina phase enhances rainfall to some degree. We have the neutral, you have the negative, positive or negative. So it all depends on how it goes. So but now for 2024, our onset was predicted on the El Nino phase. And the El Nino phase usually, around our own area here, it suppresses rainfall. And this will be explained further looking at the onset, because if we had our onset in February last year, we're having our onset in March this year. So the impact of the El Nino is showing. But good news is that the El Nino will not be sustained all through 2024.
Okay.
Because at a point, it's going to rally down to about the neutral phase. So the neutral phase will give us some respite. So those are some technical issues, that are very difficult to.
Okay.
Yes, so as it unveils, because that is being reviewed every month. Every month is being reviewed, and we do what we call the update. If there is any need, there is any significant
maybe
shift,
there is a change.
then
Okay.
yes.
All right. Thank you for giving us a better explanation there. Let's bring in Prof now. Let's look at the climate now, the climate change and all that, and the distortion in the climate and going by the predictions and the highlights, what are what is your take? Can we have your take on it?
Of course, yes. It's a very, nice area for me to speak about. Prediction are predictions, forecasts are forecasts. These are not realities. These are trying to peep into the future.
Yes.
This time around of a very chaotic system when it comes to atmosphere. There is this saying, it's an exaggeration, but it's a way to explain how chaotic the atmosphere is. That a butterfly flapping its wing in the Amazon can stir a storm in Texas. So this is just to, like I say, it's an exaggeration, but this is just to tell you the extent of how chaotic the system is. But like he said, with years, computational capacity, the models are becoming more intelligent, more smart. The prediction are becoming, the accuracy is increasing. And that is very good. But you see, this climate forecast products come in different forms, and it depends with the form we are talking about. Here is seasonal forecast. Globally, seasonal forecasting is the best forecast you can work with. You can have a 2 hourly, 1 hourly, forecast, which the accuracy is higher with a minimal time and maybe spatial, space.
Just like we have the daily prediction.
Yeah, the daily forecast. But this cannot help you to plan.
Okay.
That is why the seasonal forecast is the best form of forecast that give policymakers and business owners and even insurance companies to plan their premium, their packages, and what to do. And this is what NIMET has given to us. But you see, there are a lot of attributes associated with forecasting. One is the quality of the forecast. That means the accuracy. I'm happy that we are within a global community, whereby if we are lacking in somewhere, I'm sure the WMO and other partners can help with that. And that is important, very important, to have an accurate forecast, because if you have an incorrect forecast or incomplete or partial forecast, then it's going to be a problem. People will plan wrongly. Now, the second part and the most important part is how do you communicate this product to end user? And that is where I think we still have to work a lot.
Okay, but the distortion in the climate, forecast itself, the climate change,
yes.
What do you think is responsible?
Climate change, well, if we're talking about climate change, we know what is responsible about climate change is human, induced activities that change the climate. But the distortion to the climate system is when the global temperature rises, the pressure system changes, and then everything changes. The climate changes and it affects everything. So, like I said, it's a very, chaotic system. He talks about La Nina, El Nino. These are activities happening on the Pacific Ocean, but because we are interconnected, it's affecting us. Now, when you bring in climate change, definitely climate change is affecting almost everything. And one of the most important products in this forecast is rainfall, which rainfall in the tropical climate is very, very difficult to mimic. You see, this very, complex system is put into equation for computers to pick and mimic. Rainfall is one element that is very difficult to, and now most especially with this what we call, it's not only La Nina and El Nino, there are other drivers in synoptic scale at global climate level that are affecting our climate. But in a nutshell, I can say all these climate modifiers at that level are well understood and have been captured into the prediction system.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof, for your opening remarks. Let's bring it closer home before we go to beneficiaries in quotes. Here in the FCT, how have you received the prediction, and how do you plan to adapt?
Yes, climate change has come to stay. It's a global issue. And the FCT, Emergency Management Agency, when we got the seasonal climate predictions yesterday, but before then, we had a technical section, like he has said, because before they unveil the seasonal climate predictions, we all meet in a technical section.
Okay.
And then health, we give what their take about the predictions. Disaster management, we do the same thing. And agric, the same, transportation and others. We all meet in the technical section, and then we give them their own our own take with what happened in the previous year, and then come up with other issues, the challenges we are having before they put together the final presentation of the seasonal climate predictions. FCT, Emergency Management Agency, being the coordinating agency, it's a multi-agency issue. So we have had an emergency, after the technical session, we had an emergency stakeholders meeting, and we put together people in the environmental session, agric, health, water resources, Department of Transport, and others. So we sat down and we came up with some of the mitigative measures we can put in place, because there are some, the ones that are humanly induced can be avoided.
Okay.
And with that, we came up with modifications, ways of, sensitizing the residents of FCT on how to prevent them. And the ones that cannot be prevented, we came up with mitigative measures. Then the avoidable ones that are being caused by human activities, or we call them humanly induced, we have also taken care of that. We came up with all the measures to be put in place in order to reduce the impact if at all it happens. So with that, from that emergency stakeholders meeting, that is the first thing, because we had to let them know what the outcome of the technical session, and all hands are on deck. Then when it comes to issue of mitigating the possible disasters, we try as much as possible to make the residents of FCT become aware of the ones that they can avoid and how they can do that. But before then, from the stakeholders meeting, we came up with disaster marshals in all the 6 area councils. Already, we had put in place volunteers, local divers, and vanguards that we have trained them on simulation exercise, drills, evacuation drills, and other in other areas of the emergency management, where they will be able to handle issues before our arrival to go on rescue operations alongside with other stakeholders. But of recent, what we did was we made sure we inaugurate the local emergency committee, which is supposed to be put in place in all the state emergencies. Every state is supposed to have a state emergency agency going by the NEMA Act. And then when you have the state emergency, you have to go down to the grassroots and have the local emergency committee. But FCT Emergency Management, we didn't stop at only having the local emergency committee. What we did was we also trained the residents of different communities, because it is expected that when there is an emergency, the first responders are supposed to be the immediate members of that immediate community. So we have started carrying out simulation exercise, evacuation drills, and others. The prevented ones, the ones that the preventables should be prevented. The ones that you need to put in good mitigative measures in place in order to reduce the impact when it happens. And
you
that's
create enough sensitization,
Awareness, yes.
amongst the the residents of the communities that are likely to be prone to these disasters.
Yes, we have carried out the hazard mapping of FCT,
Yeah.
and then we also did the capacity and vulnerability assessment. So we have identified most of the communities, but because of global change, after the seasonal climate predictions, we wait for the flood outlook, then we have to carry out another hazard mapping, because when after all these presentations, there are some locations that we discovered last year. There were vulnerable locations that we had incidences last year that it had never happened before. You recall some 2 years ago, we had a problem in Giri, which has never happened in the FCT, and we lost 4 lives. And that was it. So it was a new location, so we have worked on that. We also discovered a location called Apoduse in the Apo axis, and then in Duse, you know, Duse Alaji towards Buari Area Council, we discovered such locations. And it is on and on. So every year we have to carry out this hazard mapping and capacity and vulnerability assessment. The capacity in that area is where we train them, we talk to them, we sensitize them. But we don't just do it on air or just on the street. No, we go to the traditional rulers' houses. And when we go, it is done by representation.
Okay.
We have different words, different communities, religious leaders, the youths, women leaders are represented. And this year, what we did was, we did it all inclusiveness. All inclusiveness in what sense? People with disabilities. We also carried them along. They were there. Then when we were done with the sensitization in the traditional ruler's house, we now brought in the town criers, which they make sure they go around their villages within their communities to in turn create awareness.
Okay.
And that was what we did.
All right.
But
Okay.
we didn't stop there. We now went back to the area council secretariat. So we are trying to intensify the sensitization, because it has long been realized that in disaster management, the best innovative tool to use to manage disasters is by creating awareness.
Creating awareness.
Sensitization.
Sensitization.
Make the residents of each community know the common hazards they have there, because it is from the hazards that it emanates to a disaster and leads to loss of life.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. We'll pause you then. Let's bring in Architect Kabil now, who is the president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Now, the prediction is out. And what is the outlook as the president of the Farmers Association of Nigeria? What do you see concerning food production for this year?
Well, I thank you very much for having me. And we have followed up the activities of NIMET for a very long time. And we had keenly waited for the launch. And we were there.
Okay.
We already started disseminating the information that we got from them. It prepares our farmers to plan to plant, and where to plant, and the time to plant, and the possibilities of good harvests. And now more than any time, the situation is very dire. Nigeria is looking for how to get food on the table of the generality of the people. So this year's launch is unique. And that's why I even reached out to Haruna that we should be given prominence. And they gladly, I think we were given. We went down. Now there are 4 areas that we saw that would interest farmers. One, we looked at the volume of rains in all the areas that they highlighted. And we first analyzed and gave an executive summary to our farmer leaders in the states to disseminate to all the farmers in Nigeria. The most important considerations are drought and flood. If we know that there is a possibility of drought, we do 2 things. We tell the farmers to look out for crops that have resilience. 2, we tell them to be careful how and when they plant. And then when we see some semblance of flooding, we advise them not to plant in flood-prone areas. And then also to choose crops that can also utilize flooding. Now, I gave an executive summary of these areas on the platform. So every chairman in Nigeria, in the 36 states and FCT, will have seen what we wrote. Now they will go back and send to the local governments, 774 local governments. And in those places, the chairmen are indigenous people in those local governments. So this will be translated into the language of the people, the language that the people understand. So this information will cascade down to the last smallholder farmer. So this is why we are keenly watching and participating in all the activities of NIMET as farmers. But you know, I have the singular advantage of also looking at it from the environment because I'm an architect.
Yeah.
The situation also affects construction. So as far as I'm concerned, it is very, very important that we pay great attention to what NIMET is doing and to partner with them every part of the way. And I encourage, even yesterday when I noticed that there was no presence of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, I raised it up with some people that what is happening? You should be there because there is a man in charge of climate in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. At least he should be there. So I believe everybody has seen the disconnect. We should have this synergy all over because there are many, many cross-cutting issues when it comes to agriculture. I don't mind that the emphasis was a lot on aviation in that place. But you need more, you need food before you are able to even travel. Especially now. So I'm happy that the NTA brought us here. Yeah. And I'm complaining, and Haruna is here, that you should really de-emphasize aviation and really emphasize agriculture for now. Later on, you can talk about aviation because even the farmers also want aviation because we want to transmit into an entity that can even air freight some of the things that we do. So we are also concerned about aviation. But for now, Nigeria has an emergency on food security. So we need all the information to enable the farmers to optimize their productivity and to cut down their losses that could come from drought, losses that could come from flooding and all that. And then there is the issue of the climate change. We are promoting climate smart agriculture. So the information we get is also very, very important. I'm the chairman of the agribusiness group admin board in Nigeria. Agribusiness will incentivize the small farmers to produce because they will now have a platform to sell what they produce and they will see prosperity. So it's a win-win situation to listen to what NIMET is saying, and we are following them every part of the way. We are availing our members whatever conclusions that they are giving, but as they said, this is work in progress. We will get more information when probably the hydrological agency looks at or gives us the flood outlook.
You said something that's climate smart agriculture. Can you just give us an
what it means is that you optimize productivity by being conscious of the issues around the climate. Okay. And then the most important one is climate change. As he said, and the prof said, and even she said, climate change brings about unusual situations where you never had flooding, like she said, you now have flooding because of climate change, because of activities of man. For instance, in FCT, what I have seen is, I have a facility management company. What I see is the wanton droppings of litter to clog drainages and the late evacuation of this. We have to be proactive, clean all the drainages, clean everywhere so that water flows and finds its level easily. Now, this is very important and it could cause a lot of havoc. And climate change is responsible because where you used to have normal rains, you have slightly above normal. Okay. And then because of the clogging of these drainages, you have flooding. And this flooding not only affects the farmland, it even affects households. And it even affects transportation. Because some cars have been thrown,
washed
washed
away.
away into, and then people have lost their lives. I believe one director even lost his life some 2 years ago
about
or
2
so.
years ago.
So 3 years ago. So it's very, very important that we look at the climate wherever. And you know, we attended the COP28,
Yeah.
and Nigeria committed to reducing carbon emission. So climate is very, very important. So the farmers should have all that information to be able to really plan and optimize productivity. Unfortunately, in the world now, every country is actually on its own. If you even say you want to import anything from anywhere, they have their own challenges. This is a global phenomenon.
Okay.
It's not, when people start talking of Tinubu brought this, I just laugh. You know, when you talk about the rising cost of food items and all that, yes, we sympathize because there is no farmer that produces everything that he or she eats. But now, the farmers are getting value for what they produce. Before now, we were never able to even buy fertilizer by selling one bag of maize. Today, we will be able to buy fertilizer. We will be able to buy other inputs and optimize our productivity. And if assistance, like what NIMET is doing and everybody else is doing, we will be able to produce more so that you have enough food and at affordable prices.
Okay. Well, it's gladdening to know that at least farmers get value for what they produce. Okay, Victor, please go ahead.
I was going to stay with him because taking all of these into cognizance, taking cognizance of everything, the advisory that you have been given, the one you've given your members and all of it, what is your outlook for food sufficiency this year? Already it may seem that it's a bit difficult.
Well, if you say this year, you should factor the activities that we will do or we are doing already on the dry season and the wet season that is coming. The highlights of the production, of the prediction shows me that there is a possibility of scaling productivity. But as they said, the experts have said, this is only helpful in planning. So it gives us hope that there will be more food. But there are many other factors, but this is not NIMET, but I will tell you because you asked. Purchasing power of our people is very, very crucial in the food system management. Okay. The dollar today, at least as at yesterday, I know it was like 1,007. And then all these inputs, all the inputs that we use, the herbicides, insecticides, fertilizers and all that, they are all dollarized. So whatever we produce will be threatened by these prices. So Nigeria has to do something.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah, we have to do something to strengthen our currency.
Okay.
The CBN should do nothing else but do this. Make sure that our currency becomes stronger. Okay. Then we will have, in fact, I will tell you this, maybe people will not understand me very well. In Nigeria today, it is not that there is no food, but it is not affordable. Because you have seen the customs, even intercepting some things that were going out. If you live in Kano, in Dawano, you will see many trucks loading our foods to neighboring Niger Republic. And even the border between Lagos and Seme and even up to Accra and all that. It has been open. We are feeding all the countries around us. So for anybody to say that there is no food in Nigeria, I think it's probably wrong. Okay. But it is not affordable to the common man because the purchasing power of the Naira is dwindling every day.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Architect Kabio, for your highlights there. Now, let's come back to Zachary. You have listened to what he said and the need for NIMET to carry, to involve other organizations, especially the Farmers Association. So how have you been doing that? Because he complained that, the agricultural sector is not fully involved in your activities.
No, I don't think maybe he's referring to NIMET. He's referring to the agricultural angle. And normally, you see, everything in this world is about partnership. We do the forecast, we do the predictions, but one basic concept is that we need partners to get this information out. We have a lot of partnerships across.
What about states, governments, and all
We
that?
do. That is when you look at the unveiling, like the unveiling we did yesterday. Actually, that unveiling is a deliberate attempt, you understand, to bring not just the stakeholders, but also bring state governors, commissioners of environment, commissioners of agric, and so on and so forth. I think we gave out over 800 invitations. All states were invited.
Okay.
So this gives you room to interact with people at the unveiling so that you can go and do what we call the downscaling. The downscaling is another form that you get to disseminate this information, and which is very critical. Any information you get without dissemination, it becomes valueless if you keep it on your shelf. So that is one of the avenues we try to get, so that states can partner with us. We go beyond the unveiling. We go down to the states, especially to the farmers, which is one of the basic livelihood we have around, so that we can downscale the seasonal climate prediction. This is a national document, but we also do the downscaling down to the state and local government level, where you have what location specific.
Okay.
That can be broken down to the location specific, and that will impact and have more better impact to those people at the level. So we partner with other even developmental organizations, like maybe FAO in terms of agri. Most of our partners, you know, they are more from the agricultural sector.
Okay.
Maybe IFAD, that is International Fund for Agricultural Development, they have so many projects, like the VCDP project, that is the Value Chain Development Project, like the Life ND, that is Livelihood Improvement for the Niger Delta. We have partnership with them. They cover many states in the country. Like the Life ND, they cover about 9 states. Like the VCDP, they cover about also 9 states. Like FAO, they cover mostly some of the northeastern states. So we have a lot of partnership that can help us carry this information down to the farmers. But we need more, especially from the states, because the states are very critical.
The states are very critical.
And
yeah.
the local governments.
And I also want to find out, what are some of the challenges that you face in prediction? I mean, you face challenges, don't you?
We face challenges, of course. For instance, looking at where you go technically, looking at one is that meteorology, for instance, started in Nigeria since 1887. Over 100 years, about 130 something years. But it keeps on evolving, up to the time when in 2003, when NIMET or meteorology was given an agency status in 2003.
Okay.
And that's how it begins to evolve. For now, we have offices across all the states of the Federation. We have stations across the Federation, hundreds of stations, over 200 stations, 200 and something stations. And according to the WMO, you know, we have what we call, these stations are the basis of our forecast, because we get this information from these stations. We have this data over 100 and something years. So we come to do the forecast,
Okay.
or the prediction. And it is a dynamic system. It changes. A lot of developments are coming in. A lot of models are coming up. Sometimes you have to look at models, you have to review models to see which models are suitable to your own. Though we have the regional models, we have the global models and whatever. But sometimes we also customize a model that will work for us and give us what we needed.
Okay.
So, and the challenge is keeping all those things, because we have to archive one, collect this information, archive the information. You can understand how much it means to archive an information of 100 years. Like the daily observation we do. We do daily observation 3 times, 2 4 hour in a day, and those are meant to be archived. So you can imagine those quantum of data you are going to archive and keep.
How do you manage it when some of these your predictions are not actually, they don't really hit, the targets? Like you have some, pluses and minuses.
Like Prof said earlier, these are predictions.
Okay.
These are predictions. And according to the World Meteorological Organization, any prediction that you give, that you're able to get 70% pass mark, 70% success,
Okay.
is considered as a very good prediction.
All right.
And going forward, like this prediction we do also, we do the evaluation. It's not we that evaluate ourselves. The system evaluates it. Is, for instance, I will tell you this is going to cost you 1,000 naira projection. And then you go to the market and you get it for 1,000 naira. I think I have scored 100%, right? So like these predictions were given, all these things we do, we evaluate it at the end of the season.
Okay.
That is forecast, and then you look at the actual observation, what happened with the actual observation. And then the model will now score you. That is the evaluation. So based on the evaluation, we are comfortable with the evaluation.
Okay.
And we're scoring, they will tell you, I don't want to say it, but based on the evaluation, it is in the document.
Okay, since you say you don't have to evaluate yourself, let's go to those who will evaluate you.
Yes.
Prof, I don't know what your assessment is of NIMET's prediction through the years, but how do you expect those for who it is intended, to react to make the most of the predictions?
Okay, let's start with the prediction evaluation. You're very correct by saying that an external examiner should be the judge, and as climate scientists or the climate community in the country, from the academia, we're very interested in the products and and we've done a lot of evaluation. Yes, you can say is 50-60% in some areas, while in some aspects it's less. This was done, I know I was involved in this evaluation 3 years ago, okay. 3 to 4 years ago. Like I said, the system is improving. I'm sure we have to stage such evaluation again to see what is really happening. And it's like I said, it's not only the evaluation does not stop only at looking at the forecast or the prediction and what happened in reality. It boils down to end users. Okay. After subjecting the taxpayers' money to all this evaluation and whatever, has it been put into use? Sincerely speaking, I'm very encouraged with the chairman of the farmers, yes, by taking their own, initiative to cascade this information down to local farmers. But from our own work, I have to reveal to you, I'm sure it's going to be a very vital information. A lot of farmers are not aware about what NIMET is doing. And I challenge NTA to put their reporters, go into the Sokoto plain, go to the Bayelsa fishers and ask, are you aware about anything like NIMET forecast product? From our own, maybe we didn't do it on this very large scale, but on the small scale and the patches information we have, sincerely speaking, a lot of end users that really supposed to have this information handy are not aware about even the existence of the agency and the existence of the product.
And that's for the all farmers, because maybe you have representation. They are to trickle it down.
Maybe the elitist farmers are having the information.
So he will take note of that, I'm sure.
End users, the person that the climate change is hitting more, the person that the variability of the climate is hitting more, most of them, sincerely speaking, are not aware. That is one. That is three. Then the issue of putting it into use. If people are not aware, how will they put it into use? Okay, let me come back to the top. Even, you see, like in the Europe, you don't even need to tell somebody that he's climate sensitive, because they're saying they have 3 W's, work, wife, and weather. These are the 3 most conscious things that flows in their head always. Before you get out of your house, you look at the
weather. You must know what the weather is
yeah,
saying.
what do I say? We don't have a weather, we have a climate because of the homogeneity of the temperature, and and makes people less interested, less sensitive about climate system. But with the changing climate and how fast these changes are coming, especially the manifestation of the changes more to flooding, people might be more aware about. So what I'm saying in a nutshell, we have to do more about sensitization and about charting a way that really these products that are very good can get to the real end user to put into use.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Prof. We have to do more
Yeah,
about
sure,
sensitization.
definitely.
And that brings me to Madam Florence now. The Prof raised an issue about sensitization. And likewise, the architect also raised issue about waste management, clogging the channels and all that.
Exactly.
What is FEMA doing?
Yes, during our sensitization, what we do is we try to discourage the residents of FCT, not just residents of FCT, we try to discourage people from indiscriminate dumping of refuse. So when we talk to them, we advise them on how to dispose their waste. If they want to burn it, if they want to dig a hole and bury it, whatever it is, we make sure we discourage them and we tell them the side effect, like the outbreak of epidemic, cholera, malaria. Clean your gutters. You don't have to wait for the government to come and do that. Your immediate environment. That notwithstanding, we have the Department of Facility Maintenance. From time to time, they make sure they desealed all the drainages, not only within the capital city, but in the area councils. And I want you to know today that area councils are coming up. They are trying to bring back sanitation the last Saturday of the month. It's already ongoing.
No, let me just interject you, because I remember when we were young, we used to have these officers, they call them wole wole.
Yeah.
That is, they go to the
Lagos.
different houses in Lagos, especially the
officers.
sanitation officers.
Yes.
They go to individual houses and you see the cleanliness then.
Yes.
But we do not have that any longer.
They are bringing it back to FCT, and they have started seriously in Kwali Area Council.
Okay.
And the last time we were in Kwali Area Council for sensitization, when we went to inaugurate the local emergency committee, most of their traditional rulers that were represented there told us that Kwali Area Council gave them last Saturday, but they have picked second Saturday within their neighborhood to make sure they clean their houses and their drainages. So that is it. Right now, you can trust that the Honorable Minister of FCT doesn't take things kindly. What he has done is that every department should live up to expectations. And that is why you can see, like the roads, all the infrastructures now, they are working on the roads, the facility maintenance. Like these people that were stealing the manhole covers.
Yeah.
We are trying to change the manhole. And you will not believe it. One of our mitigative measures that we put in place is to make sure we put billboards on warning signs at vulnerable locations. You will not believe it that scavengers, they cut off the billboards and
take it away.
So it's part of our challenge. Like everybody has said, it bows down to the end users. We talk to them, we advise them, we sensitize them, we tell them on what to do. But I mean, we are only trying to intensify the sensitization to do our job. We follow NIMET religiously.
Okay.
FCT Emergency Management Agency, we follow NIMET religiously. We reach out to them to make sure we get the high impact weather forecast, the daily weather forecast, because we carry out sensitization in Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, English, Gbagi, and Gwandara. But during the last sensitization we went, the traditional rulers called our attention that they have 9 common languages. So we are trying to expand.
Okay.
9. In 2022, I'm sure NTA is aware because NTA, we work with NTA 247. Because in 2022, other states recorded loss of lives. FCT recorded 0 loss of life. Why? Because we were following NIMET religiously. We barricaded roads that were vulnerable to flooding. Barricaded some of the farmlands that they insisted on going there to farm other products that they are not supposed to farm there. What we did was that we cordoned those areas and insisted that they plant either yam, cocoyam, or sugarcane and other products that they can use. And we encouraged them. By the time they saw the video clips we take with us during sensitization, we showed them video clips. When they saw, initially they would tell us, this is our ancestral home. It has never happened. We have been here for so number of years. We are not going to leave. But now, once the rains are approaching, they try to move out to some of their relations. They move out of that location, especially when we give them the breakdown of the seasonal climate predictions. Because during our sensitization, we try to break it down in different languages so that they will understand. Like Abaji, Kwali, Buari, Gwagwalada, they are very vulnerable. And then the capital city, most of the disasters that happened last year was, I would say, I don't want to say they were careless, but because they refused to listen to our warnings, because all the roads we barricaded, and we have vanguards and the rescue team that we have stationed in different locations.
Do you have enforcement officers to,
Yes, we have the disaster marshals. In fact, even in the universities, last year we went to institutions of higher learning. We inaugurated disaster marshals, and they have been helping us. They do a lot. We have them during the rains, especially. We have them cut across different locations, vulnerable locations in the FCT, and they stopped a lot of them from going. They insisted. I know you saw the video that went viral. The bike man, Okada people that were washed away. They stopped them. They were beckoning on them. Don't go, don't go. They insisted. They insisted. And people that go to carry out farming activities or building on waterways, we try to talk to them about it. So in 2022, we were very happy because there was no loss of life. Yes, people lost properties. Why? It was on purpose. We had to demolish some houses that were built on waterways.
I think we had
save
one
lives.
incident last year. One estate that
Yes,
were washed.
Trademore.
Trademore
estate.
Yes.
But fortunately enough, there was no loss of life.
Okay.
But what we are telling them, they've taken us to court. 112 houses were marked for demolition because they are built on waterways. They took us to court. We couldn't, and then they brought in, people came in with sympathy and all these things. They stopped us from demolishing the houses. Those houses are still there. But the question is this.
And so is the problem.
The question we're asking the residents of Trademore, what if it happens at night? You have the video clip in this NTA.
Yeah, we
You
played
saw
it.
the level. It was above window level. Some houses were almost completely submerged. What if it happened at night? Can they escape it?
I'm not sure you should be talking about sentiments that people came in with sympathy and all of that. Government doesn't quite operate on those kind of sympathies because your job, the job of government is to secure
Save
lives and property. And so it will still be on the government, on the FCT administration to do what is needed to save lives and property.
This year, we have a roundtable meeting with estate developers, the government, federal government, the FCT administration, FCDA, the Development Authority. We are going to have a roundtable discussion with them again before the rains, after the flood outlook. We're going to have a roundtable meeting with them and come up with something.
Okay.
And by the grace of God, there will be no loss of life. So take it from me that FCT, Emergency Management Agency, we are following NIMET religiously, and that was why there was no loss of life in 2022. The people that died last year to flooding, it was due to their stubbornness. The one that happened in Dogongada is along Lokogoma axis, not too far from Galadima roundabout. The one that happened there, he had a lady, he had a passenger. The passenger said, no, please drop me. Because we have our vanguards there. Sometimes they are divers too. Sometimes they help people cross. They carry them on their shoulder and they swim across if you insist. But we have barricaded that place. Once we have a heavy downpour, you can't go into that community and you can't come out of that community. We have a duty post. You have all this. We have this evidence here with you people. So the lady came off the bike, and the bike man says no, that he can cross. There's no problem. And that was how the water washed him away.
Okay,
Well, thank you very
we'll
much.
have to leave it here for now and go on a quick break. When we return from the break, I'll be asking the architect to tell us how he intends to trickle down the advisory to the lowest level of farmers. So let's pause here for a break now. All right, you're welcome back, and it's glad to know you're there. We've been talking about NIMET's 2024 weather predictions, and a lot has been said. And that takes me back to Architect Kabir, who is president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Earlier, well, I don't want to call it an indictment, that the farmers at the lowest level, the farmers at the grassroots, don't seem to have an idea of what NIMET is, what NIMET does, and how their predictions can be beneficial to farmers at that level. What do you plan to do to trickle down this information, intensify awareness?
Well, I'm glad that the Prof, after saying that his discovery was that the farmers at the grassroots level did not know much about NIMET, but he quickly added that probably they did their survey on a very small percentage of farmers. Because, to be fair to NIMET, information on what they do is available on your phone, in the car, and even now from them, these predictions are even available in some Nigerian languages. I come from Faskari. It's a very small place, and we are 99% agrarian. The farmer used to not to worry about income. He was mainly doing subsistence farming. But it is very clear now that every farmer looks upon what they do as a business. If you are a real farmer, you follow up these predictions. And I have told you now, even before I came, and it's there on our platform, and every state chapter gets the information through the chair that is on our platform. And that chair, I will give you the example of Katsina State. There are 34 local governments. There are about 4,907 polling stations. And most of Katsina is 93% agrarian. And if this information goes, and our chairman of the AFAN in Katsina is a grassroots man. He is still an SA, but before then he was commissioner of local government and chieftaincy affairs. He was the honorable speaker of the State House of Assembly. And he gets this information and sends it down. And the people in Faskari don't speak English, they speak Hausa, and the chairman there is Hausa, and the chairman in local government and the 10 wards, the chairman are also Hausas, and they get this information. And you tell me that the farmers are not aware? No, this is not a market discussion. This is scientific. We have feedback, and everybody knows that whenever there is flood, government does a lot to help the people who suffered flooding, and it has happened now in the last 3 years, where it's very unusual. For instance, flooding. Flooding used to be at 10-year intervals, but we had flooding in 2022. We had it in 2023. We are fearful that we could have it now in 2024.
We just had it yesterday.
So if farmers, probably one prof did this survey, if farmers 2 years ago claimed that they didn't know, for the things that have happened now should make them know. So as far as we are concerned, whatever NIMET is doing, whatever information is going out, is work in progress. And I did not say that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture did not participate because NIMET did not invite them or anything. No. I wanted to emphasize that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture representatives should know that the NIMET predictions unveiling is a very crucial part of agriculture, and therefore they should go. For some of us, you ask him here, when I heard that the unveiling was going to be yesterday, and I didn't see our letter, I reached out to him. And because we are interested, we need to know that. Okay. And then at about 4 a.m., I wrote executive summary of what we saw. It is there on the platform. It's being disseminated. It's cascading towards but if a Nigerian chairman of AFAN in a state does not take this information seriously and does not disseminate it, it's another matter. Okay, it's just like Madam has said.
How do you know that? How do you monitor whether this information is going?
Do you see, the world is now a global village. Okay. As I'm talking with you now, my phone is vibrating. People are watching me and seeing me. And I'm sure there are messages. I will see messages. I will see everything. And that's how we check what is happening. And then above all, we now, more than any time, the issue of the food system is at the front burner. I will divulge one information here on TV. Because of the emergency on food security, the president of All Farmers Association is representing the farmers on the Central Working Committee chaired by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. The chairman of all the state chapters are also members of the state working committees chaired by the governors on the food security issue. The chairman of AFAN in the local governments are members of the working committee of the local government areas, chaired by the respective chairman of the local government areas. Okay. Now, the Tinubu administration understands that you have to carry all stakeholders along. Actually, so NIMET, I am encouraged by what yesterday's unveiling was the most attended in all the ones that I have seen. That place was filled up, and therefore it shows that everybody is now keenly looking towards this information because
all right.
Okay. I still want to. I'm so happy that you were able to mention that you're working with the federal government because right now the federal government is battling with this food security issue, and one of the measures that they are trying to discourage is people buying in bulk food items and hoarding them. Are you in any way, I mean the Farmers Association, what are you doing working with government to ensure that, I mean, the food items that are being produced are not being hoarded, they are being made available so that people can have access to food?
But let us draw a line between a farmer, a dealer, and the grains merchant. The farmers produce and sell whatever is superfluous to what they will eat to any buyer who comes, and mostly these farmers come to the closest market to them. So when they sell at farm gate price, they get little or nothing. When they take to the markets near them, they put a premium for transportation. But when a dealer buys and has a warehouse and goes to keep for until prices get high, that is where the issue is. Now, the issues here is government is already doing something and people are saying that they are going too far. If you see some clips on TV in Kano, for instance, they went around and checked some warehouses and opened them and told them to sell off and all that. In many places, it's already happening. Now, institutions in Nigeria need to work. There should be corruption or zero corruption, tolerance of zero corruption in the society. And it behoves on all Nigerians to really wake up and be their brothers and sisters keepers. It is not a question of the Farmers Association preventing anybody from hoarding, because we don't have anything to hoard. We don't have anything to hoard. But you see, the system has to work such that a farmer will not sell to anybody whom he knows buys to hoard. But it is left to the institutions saddled with responsibilities to make sure that you have good governance, to check that these things, these abuses do not happen. Because, you know, I even told one director that, look, be careful. Because I was a member of the seed council. Okay. The seed companies who have outgrowers collect whatever is produced as seed and they warehouse it to sell to the farmers as seed. Now, if you go breaking these warehouses, you are likely to bring seed and sell it as grains. And therefore, when the planting season comes, we will have nothing to do. Okay. So you know, it's a catch-22 situation, but it takes you and I to be vigilant and to be good Nigerians to be able to check all these abuses. It is not only government, it is everybody. In fact, how many people are there in government? What percentage of the people are in government?
Architect Kabir, thank you very much for your thoughts. As we gradually wind down here, let me ask Zachary, you know, climate change is a major determinant of the experiences we have these days. A lot of things are pinned on climate change. Unfortunately, climate change is not dependent only on what happens here in Nigeria. It's a global phenomenon. But what's the best case scenario and what's the worst? And what does Nigeria need to do? What do we need to do here in Nigeria to be, you know, at the best possible situation that we can be going forward?
Well, this is a very tricky question anyway. Looking at it, I just, before the question please, I just want to make some little observations. Okay. Earlier we make the issue of sensitization, issue of dissemination and so on and so forth. You see, when you come to the issue of prediction and forecast, you have three layers of, You have the producers, which NIMET is the producer. You have the enablers, HAFAN, probably other developmental partners or whatever. They are the enablers. Because we produce, we give them to disseminate. And we have the end users, who are actually maybe the farmers and so on and so forth. So I think, based on our own mandate, we have carried what is required of us by giving out the prediction, okay, or giving out the forecast. NTA can also be part of the enablers. You get the point. This program we are holding, you are enabling people and information is getting out to the people. So I think there is, everyone plays a role and it gets down to those who are going to use it. This is just what I just want to make clarification. Yes, clarification. Then in addition, maybe to your question, you know, it is a very difficult thing. We know, yes, climate change has come to stay with us. There is no two way about it. But we have to live with it. Mm-hmm. Living with it, sensitization is key for people to understand what is happening. Very key. If you get the information, how do I use it? The information is to empower you. Any information is power. So, sometimes I think we do so much about flooding and we forget about drought. When you look at the highlights of our forecast or the prediction, one thing that interests me for the past 5, 6 years is the is the dry spell, which is very critical. This dry spell is most known in the northern part of the country. But the funny part of it is that I think 5 years, 6 years back, it begins to evolve in the southern part of the country. It's very, very weird. And for me, based on the climate change phenomenon, is something that is not, it's something that can happen.
Okay.
So when you look at, there is a map, we do what we call the dry spell map, visualize it on the map. So many parts of the country are going to be engulfed. That is, I think, July, August, in the dry spell.
Okay.
And that becomes critical. And this dry spell is being categorized into even 3 phases. And it's going to affect a lot of farmers or farming system, looking at it. It can, the season has established, and suddenly there is cessation. Suddenly the rain ceases. It can cease for a week. It can cease for 2 weeks. It can cease for 3 weeks. There is a lot of impact there. So it's even worse than flooding, because you understand, it brings about crop failure.
Yeah.
It brings about crop loss in total. So that is something very significant we just have to look at. And the worrying part of it is that it's not just now part of the northern part of Nigeria. It's going to the north, southeast. It's going to the southwest. When you look at the map, and it's becoming worrisome. So it is very critical for us to look at it. Maybe for the construction industry, they may find it as a kind of respite, because the rains have come, its intensity, and it ceases. It gives them room to do some,
to do a lot of construction.
to do a lot of construction. Somebody's advantage is somebody's disadvantage. So those are things we should look at. But then when you talk about sensitization, I think we need other agencies that are doing the sensitization. Maybe NOAA, for instance. You understand? I know we've been partners with them, but I think they need to be empowered to do more.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me bring in Madam Florence here, because you raised a lot of issues, and that borders on the need for change of mindset, especially amongst Nigerians, because the communities, the people using all these facilities, and there is need for you, just like he mentioned, to work with other government agencies, that like national orientation agencies. So what efforts are you, making? Are you collaborating with other agencies? And how are you going about, educating the people and trying to change their mindset that these things that are being provided is for your good? So don't, damage them, or
Yes.
vandalize
in a minute,
or
please.
vandalize
Make it in a minute,
the whole thing.
Yes, we are in collaboration with National Orientation. In the 6 area councils in FCT here, we have desk officers, about 4 of them, and they are part of our stakeholders. Each time we have our meetings, whatever we are doing, we carry National Orientation along. And when we go to area councils for sensitization, we go with them to the few places we can go to, and then the National Orientation, Local Emergency Committee, Town Criers, and our vanguards, they now take it down to other parts of those communities that we could not reach, and that is it. So what we are doing is to make sure we intensify the sensitization. And last year, I'll tell you that towards the end of the rainy season, we thought the rainy season has ended. We call NIMET. Predictions are predictions, and we have always told them, you can never be 100%. So we told them, we said, disaster management is everybody's business, including children that are of school age. So we went to unblock the roads that we barricaded. And fortunately enough, what I did was, I quickly told them, I said, the rains are over. But because of climate change, at any point in time, it might rain, but not to the extent that it will lead to flooding. So please, we are unblocking this road to reduce the inconveniences, and we are pleading with the residents of FCT to please listen to our warnings at all times. Cooperate with us. do not drive on water, on running waters, do not build on waterways and other
I
things
guess
like
that's
that.
a good place to rest it because
Yes.
we've almost completely run out of time.
Yes,
so
we have our emergency number 112 at any point in time.
Okay.
They should call that.
112 is
Yes,
the emergency number.
They should call
let
that.
me take the closing
the
thoughts
number.
of Prof. I don't know if you would like to anchor on how we can use the season of flooding, for instance, make it an advantage to use in time of drought. I don't know how that works, but if we can take that's an excess period to when we don't have at all, is there a way we can get that to work for us as a nation?
Sure, sure. In every adversity there is opportunity, and plots has a lot of opportunity.
In a minute, please.
I think you should have a very good time to discuss about this because it's very short. But before then, there is one very important aspect of this prediction that we missed in the discussion.
We're just 30 seconds away.
Yeah, sure. That's the climate sensitive diseases prediction. It's a very, very important component of what NIMET has given out. The meningitis, the malaria, and even cholera, though I didn't see cholera. It's very, very important. With the changing climate, with the warming temperature, we're going to see the increase in prevalence of these diseases.
That is the
The health implications. So the health ministry and people in the health community, I think they should also take it very serious. We've been pounding on the because the chairman is here. And lastly, I have one appeal.
Please make it short. We are
short.
out of time.
To NIMET, as they are giving out this information free of charge, also their database, at least to the research community. If you can't have good data or access to data, it cripples research. It cripples their own work too.
Thank you very much. I'm sure NIMET is listening. Professor Farouk Abdul Salam, Professor of Applied Climatology and Meteorology, Kaduna State University, we thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Zachary of the NIMET, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Florence Wedegeme, FEMA, thank you very much for keeping us company this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And to the architect Kabir, thank you very much, and regards to the farmers, especially at the grassroots.
Thank you.
Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria this morning. We thank you for your time. I'm Victor Azo, and I'm wishing you a splendid day.
And I am Ademola Adeoye. Thanks for your time. Join us again tomorrow for another episode. Have a wonderful day.